Hey!
Oh.
Welcome to Fat Man Beyond. I'm Kevin Smith.
My name is Marc Bernardin.
Hey!
Hey, gang.
Sorry for the lateness, Fat Man Beyond. I'm Kevin Smith.
That was misinformation, but whatever. It's all cleared up now. And
we all got the wrong coordinates for the drop, and so we all had to kind of scramble a bit.
It was. Hey, you know what? You don't need to see backstage. You don't want to see how a sausage is fucking made sometimes, even if it's vegan sausage. Because
especially if it's vegan sausage.
Yeah, you really don't want to see how the sausage is made. Then you'll be like, I don't want to eat this shit.
Is that wood?
What the fuck? Where's the pork? Where's the pork, ladies and gentlemen? That's what you say when you tune into Fat Man Beyond. And every week we pork you real hard. Me and Marc Bernardin right here, man.
Indeed. We're the anal vice.
We are the anal vice. Right before we went, too good to let go. Right before we went, we were talking about, of course, we'll get to later in the show, we lost the great Christopher Plummer this week. Christopher Plummer, for people of a certain age, I'm sure for today's kids, he's Mr. Knives Out, which is fine. And for many people, he was Mr. Kevin Spacey in a number of movies. Fine. But to me and Mark, who were born like in the 70s, of course, he'll always be Captain Von Trapp from The Sound of Music, a thing that I suspect, quite like myself, Mark might have been forced to watch a time or two through childhood.
More than once.
It was a huge event.
It's like every Christmas on ABC, like, hey, it's Sound of Music time. Okay.
I mean, it's just... There were a couple things you were forced to watch. The Wizard of Oz, because they played it like once a year. Fucking that. Gone with the Wind, which I escaped watching every year of my life, man.
Good for you, man.
Oh my God. That seemed like a big commitment and shit. But sometimes they just put shit on and we're like, this is a fucking event and stuff like that.
10 Commandments was the other one that was always in rotation. Like, you gotta learn this story. Greatest story ever told. Like, okay.
If you went to Catholic school like me, are you kidding me? They were shoving Moses up your fucking a-hole, man. So naturally, fucking 10 Commandments wasn't just like, it's a Sunday night. Let's kick back and watch a movie. It was, you're doing homework, motherfuckers. Learn why Moses fucked it up for himself. Because the scary thing about the Moses story, right, is that he's the fucking chosen one, and he leads everybody, out, Israelites out of fucking persecution and fucking more or less, conquers the Egyptians, right? And then he don't even get to go into the promised land. He has to sit on a hill for the rest of his life looking. Isn't that cucking it out? That's the horror story of fucking Moses right there, man. That's how they teach you to be good when you're a kid. Like, you don't want to be fucking FOMOing it up like Moses, missing out on all the good time.
Old faux Moses.
Moses. In any event, so before we went, we were talking about Christopher Plummer, of course, was in Sound of Music. And the song, if you've ever seen Hollywood Babylon, Ralph sings it, is that Captain Von Trapp is very well known for, is the song Edelweiss. Edelweiss, Edelweiss, which I believe refers to a plant in Germany,
the flower.
The national flower of Germany or something like that. Years ago, then in, the Sound of Music, it's partially about how the national flower of Germany became hatred and Nazism. Like, that's also part of the movie and shit. But before shit went bad, he's Austrian, right? He ain't even German, right?
Yes, he's Austrian.
So he's saying, I guess that's the national flower of Austria and stuff. And nothing bad could ever come from Austria. So he's singing this song Edelweiss in the movie. And Mark said,
I have for my entire life thought, and you cannot correct me, that the name of that song is Analvice, Analvice, like a department of the police that just deals in anal crimes.
Well, that's what Mark was thinking. Mark said anal vice. And then I said, an anal vice. I said, would that hold you open or closed? I went to a different Vice, and then Mark was like, no, man, I meant like anal Vice. Like, you know.
Like Miami Vice.
You know, it's like, oh, like anal Vice and shit. Then the thought was, I mean, it's probably just funny to us, but fuck, it was enjoyable. Then the thought was anal Vice was like the 80s conception of the hardest a cop show could ever be. Like fucking them sitting around going like, what's the worst crime that could be perpetrated in the 80s? And they're like, anal Vice, man. Put them, hard cops are on anal Vice, no pun intended. So we were talking about how the fuck would you deal with, you know, how do you reboot anal Vice in 2021 where like anal is on the menu right after kissing? It's no longer the big taboo. What would it be called? And then all of a sudden JC was like, can we start the show? And the show. So
like, this is adorable, boys. Let's start a show.
Thank you for sitting through all that. Let me tell you something, kids. I don't care if it's anal Vice or anal Vice. Either way, you always want to smell your prettiest. You know what I'm saying? And this week's sponsor, ladies and gentlemen, they make you smell so pretty. Even if you were trapped in an anal Vice, you wouldn't even know it, man, because they can take that scent away.
Wow. Did we lose Kev in the middle of a native DEO ad? I think we did. But hey, let's just fucking talk about native DEO. Native deodorant is formulated without aluminum, parabens, or talc. It's also vegan, because you know one of us here really cares about stuff that's vegan. It's so you can eat it if you're vegan, but it's never tested on animals. It's made with ingredients you've heard of, like coconut oil and shea butter. And you wear deodorant every day. Shouldn't you be able to understand all the ingredients that are in it? You know, wait, did we lose everybody? Or are we back now? I think, do we have a Kev? We're having a Kev. Hold on. I'm going to talk about Amazing Sense. I hear him. Is he back? Maybe.
I'm back. I swear. I swear.
He's back.
I'm here.
Do you want to talk about the amazing sense that native deodorant offers?
Can you see me?
I can see you. I can hear you.
I was talking about it when suddenly I was offline. Once again, I have the worst fucking internet connection in the world. And people keep trying to tell me, like, you should do this, you should do that. There's nothing to be done shy of hanging a satellite over the fucking house. Somebody, maybe JC could explain it, but whatever. Regardless. It comes and goes. But my point was, and I was fucking screaming into the fucking screen, Native Deo, ladies and gentlemen, nativedeo.com. Go to nativedeo.com/fatman. Use the promo code FATMAN at checkout, and you're going to get 20% off your first order, man. That's Native DEO. What do you want to fucking stink? No, you don't. You go to nativedeo.com/fatman or use the promo code FATMAN at checkout, and you're going to get 20% off your first order. And you're like, well, what am I getting? You're getting that native deodorant, man. It's formulated without aluminum, or as they say in England, aluminium. It's got no parabens. I don't know what those are. Probably from the dark side dimension. They're in the Snyder Cut. Lots of parabens and shit like that. And it got talc. Even though both Mark and I as babies were fucking bathed in talc and we turned out just fine. Talc is the secret of all good writers. People are against talc nowadays and shit. Native says, fuck the talc. We can do it without the talc. And they did. They're goddamn magicians. Best part of this shit, for a guy like me, who cares, ethical.
Is it vegan?
It's fucking vegan, Mark. This shit is plant-based. If I have to, if society collapses, not only am I fucking freshening up, I'm eating that shit, man. I ain't got to worry as I eat it. I'm not crying like, oh shit, a baby cow had to. No. I can just eat that shit. And it smells so good you want to eat it sometimes. I literally told my wife tonight, she was like, you got a box of shit. And it was from a different company altogether. She's like, is this your commercial for the week or something? I said, no, this is for next week, I believe, and stuff. I said, tonight we're doing native deodorant. She goes, oh my God, did they send stuff? And I was like, you love it, huh? She's like, I'm a whore for native. I said, I'm going to steal that line and sell it to the good folks at Native. So there's your new catchphrase, man. Just cut to a dude or a lady I'm or for native, very suggestive. Sex sells, you know what I'm talking about. You know what else sells? Ingredients that are fucking wholesome, man. Native deodorant is made with ingredients you've heard of, like coconut oil and shea butter. This ain't like some fucking shit from space where you're like, what's venom in this? It's fucking natural, man. You wear deodorant every day. Shouldn't you be able to understand the ingredients list? Fucking sounds reasonable, no?
It does.
Really
I'm looking forward to the Mad Max future where instead of dinting more dog food, Mad Max is just chowing down on native deodorant bars. Because you could.
You griddle that shit up, it's all good, man. You take off the head plate that's protecting your open skull, your fucking exposed brain. You put that on top of a fire, like a wok style and shit. And then you put your native deo in there and fucking just cook it for a good 5 each side. That's good eating. But that's
especially
only in the post-apocalyptic future, kids. Do not do this now. You don't have to eat.
No, but if you had to. But if you had to, they got scents and flavors like coconut and vanilla, they're most popular. Lavender and rose, not so bad. Cucumber and mint, citrus and herbal, musk.
You're making me hungry. Stop it. You're making me hungry, and I don't eat past 8 o'clock, you son of a bitch. God damn it, these are tasty flavors. No wonder my wife wants to get a free box of the native. I says, you got enough money to get your own box, I says. And she said, fuck you, I will. And she went off to Amazon. She ordered her own fucking native, man. Can you believe it? I said, if you went to nativedeo.com/fatman, you could have gotten 20% off. And she goes, fuck your commercial ass. I said, these commercials pay your bills. And she's like, not my bills. I didn't ask you to go on the internet and tell people how much you love fucking WandaVision. I said, you know what? You used to like that about me when we first met. It's on. 20 fucking minutes. 20 minutes. That's how good native deodorant is, ladies and gentlemen.
I like that now we're just rebooting All in the Family, but it's about fucking deodorant.
We're trying to do this classy product placement. You know how every once in a while, like SNL does like a product placement ad and they build a sketch around it and shit like that. Seth Meyers recently did one with a beer. And I was like, holy shit. So I figure if we work it in all smooth as part of our bit, as long as the customer's not like, we don't want you to use the post-apocalyptic future to sell our deodorant and tell people that you shouldn't eat it. And we're like, I know, but if we were in a post-apocalyptic future, we don't sell our product on fucking theoreticals. We are nativedeo.com, nativedeo.com, fuckers. Respect. Don't sell us Mad Max style. Sell us for what we do. And what they do is they make it not smell like you live in a post-apocalyptic world. That's a better tagline than I'm a whore for native. I guess that's a little off-put.
We just iterated a little bit. We got there. So listen, free shipping on every order in the U.S. and Native offers 30-day free returns and exchanges in the U.S. So there's no risk to try. If it's not your jam, if you don't love the way you smell, you can send it back. It's all good. Get your money back. But you know what? If you go to native.com, nativedeo.com/fatman, give it a shot. You're not going to want to return it anyway.
No way, man. You're going to love the way you don't stink anymore. Nativedeo.com. Nativedeo.com. We thank them for being proud sponsors of Fat Man Beyond, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to the good folks at nativedeo.com/Fatman. All right, man.
Hey.
How you been, sir? What you been doing this week?
This week was a busy week because this week at least I can, for the first time in a long time, say what I'm working on, which is often nice to be able to do. Because I feel for people when I was like, can you tell us what you're doing? It's like, I can't. I'm under NDAs from 19 different people and they'll come and take my children if I talk too much. But this week, the news broke that I'm writing a one-shot for Marvel as part of their Heroes Reborn event, which posits, what if the Avengers never existed? What is this sort of, who are the heroes who fill the void, and what happens to some of the heroes that we already know and love? And so I'm writing Peter Parker, the Amazing Shutterbug, which is, what if Peter Parker was never bitten by a spider? What's that dude's life like? And And it's been fun. It's coming out in May, and yeah, I don't write that much comic book material anymore, and I definitely don't do a lot of sort of like big two work. So it was kind of fun to be able to just like, yeah, fucking Peter Parker. Let me write Peter Parker. Let's see what Peter Parker's life would be like. What would he be up to if swinging through the skies and snaring villains in webs was not on the menu?
That is dope. Who's your artist?
It is a guy named Raphael Dottore, who I've never met, but I've seen a lot of his work, and so it's pretty dope. It's a very fast schedule, so this week has been it's been deadline heavy. So most of my time.
How many pages? 20 pages?
30 pages. It's a big fat book.
Jeez, man. That fucking 30 pages. That's a nut biter, man. It's for those that have never tried or don't look, into very deeply into this sort of thing. Writing a comic book script is far more involved than writing almost any other script there is. You can get away with writing a TV script with very little descriptive shorthand because, as the term indicates, shorthand, most people all understand the tropes and visualizations of television and whatnot, So when it comes to a comic book, as is often the case, the writer and the artist who is going to be bringing those words and that story to life and to pictures are usually two completely different people. And if the writer is the artist, then they could write their comic book scripts the way I write my movie scripts, which is like, well, I'm going to be there on set, so I know all the detail shit. I'm just going to write as little as possible. Like Dante comes in and sees Randall. I'm not going to be like, the room is square, the atmosphere, Dante, 50, turns and feels as old as he looked, or anything like that. Like, that's entertaining a reader and stuff. So I tend to leave that stuff out. I'd rather save the page count for dialogue and stuff. In comic book scripts, you have to literally, as a writer, describe every single thing that you want to see in the panel. Otherwise, it may not be there. You can't expect that the artist is going to read your fucking mind when you write a script. And unless it's very detailed, you see an image and you're like, but wait, where's the control panel? Like, a writer will be like, I don't see a single thing in this about a control panel being needed. Like, you have to describe everything. And by virtue of that, like a 30-page comic script, most people are like, what is that, 30 pages? How long was your script?
It is probably, like, I'm not done with it yet, but it is probably going to average, I imagine it'll be about 50 pages long, maybe between 45 and 50 pages.
And so it's a one shot?
Yeah. And like, to your point, the thing of it is that not only are you doing the writing that you would do in a TV script, which is dialogue, not only are you doing the prose that you would do in a novel, because you've got to describe all this stuff, but you're also, if you're writing full script as opposed to Marvel style, quote unquote, you're also choosing how many panels are on a page and how many balloons are in each panel. And you're doing math in a way that you don't really have to do in any other form of writing, which is, I got 30 pages. How many panels on each page? How many balloons in each panel? How many words in each balloon? And all of that's got to feel a certain way. And then you're like, all right, what do I want on the page turn? What's my suspense here? If you open a book, you're like, my left page is the first thing I see. And then the bottom of the right page is just before the page turns. That gets to be suspense or a massive plot twist or an emotional beat. So what's going to be there? And then what do you see when you flip it over? Oh, that's fucking badass. It's a reveal. Do you want spreads and splashes? Like, it's all of this thinking that you don't have to do in any other form of writing. And it's really fucking hard.
Yeah. And by the way, like, in terms of financial recompense, which is not why you do these things, but let's say it was, you don't make a lot of money for all that work.
You don't.
The aggregate of what you get paid versus how much work you put into it, the ratio is completely ratioed, to borrow a term from the kids.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be doing volume in order to actually make a living writing comics. And the more you have to do, odds are the worse it's going to be, simply because it becomes a factory, becomes an assembly line. And there are some incredibly gifted people who can do it, and I have no idea how they do. When you hear people, like, oh, he's got 4 monthly books, 5 monthly books. Like, how the fuck do you do this? One book a week.
First thing I would say is hire any of those fuckers as a TV person. Because if you can handle 4 comic book titles a month or a week, you can fucking handle episodic television.
For sure.
Turn out to be great training for it. And also, you writing a Marvel book now ever is a great thing, fun. But like you doing it now, like Marvel Comics are now under the stewardship of Marvel. Kevin Feige oversees the comics now. Mm-hmm. So, and Kevin Feige, as we've seen, is very happy to borrow bits and pieces from storylines all throughout the comics, and put them together into what we know and love about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So getting a writing gig there is not just fun and, man, I'm writing fucking comic books at Marvel. And, oh my God, I'm working on the Heroes Reborn thing. It's also backdoor, like, you never know who's going to read this now. Back in the day, when I wrote Daredevil, I was never like, I wonder if anyone's going to fucking turn this into.
I think we lost you. Oh, we lost Kev again. Usually when he goes out picture first, but we can still hear him. Oh, and that is the most unflattering freeze frame. I hear him. Is he back? Maybe?
Back.
Hey.
I was back.
Welcome.
My computer keeps telling me my internet connection is unstable.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I try and sit it down, let it relax a bit. Like, you're a little wound up, kid. Come on, Tiger. But yeah, so
it's so frustrating. I feel like I'm moving this shit around like you'd move rabbit ears on a TV. Cause I don't know shit about the internet. I fucking use it like crazy and have since 1994, but like, I don't know how it fucking actually works. So like, some people are like, jack in, man. And I'm like, all right, but how? Like, the laptop I'm on doesn't even have Ethernet jacks anymore and stuff. I don't know. I'm fucking so lost. I'm such a befuddled old man. And I was on a roll, and all of a sudden I looked to you for a reaction. You were frozen. I was like, fuck. I forget what I was even talking about.
So what?
I was talking about Marvel and shit.
What happens is
I
was going to say, what happens at your house is the infrastructure, the amount of money it costs to shut down Hollywood Boulevard to run the fiber optic and the cable lines to the Hollywood Hills north of Hollywood Boulevard is so much money and so prohibitive because Scum and Villainy is right on the other side of Hollywood Boulevard. So when I needed to get better internet, I had to put, like you said, a satellite dish on the roof to get better internet. That is not possible, even for cost-wise, even for the people in Hollywood Hills. I tried to get normal internet, and they said it would take 3 years of permitting to get the city to shut down Hollywood Boulevard to run the line under the street. So that's why you and everybody who's north of Hollywood Boulevard is hosed.
Thank you, JC. I always get people going like, come on, man, you're fucking rich. Why don't you get better internet? You're fucking rich. And I'm like, number one, I'm not rich. I have to work a lot. Number two, I thought I had the best internet I could possibly get, and it turns out I'm right. But the problem is the best internet I could get is not very good, as JC just told us. But next week, hopefully, we'll be doing this from Scum and Villainy, and so,
Indeed,
this fucking shit won't matter. But anyway, before we lose everybody, as we move into the subject of like fucking, net neutrality and shit like that, let's talk about what we came here to talk about. Before that, a quick plug.
Yes.
everyone's been going like, hey man, fucking, when we gonna get some He-Man? When we gonna get some Masters of the Universe? I'm just gonna say Monday morning. You might want to check your Twitters. You might want to check your Instagrams.
All right.
Could be something worth some info there. Again, don't want to get people excited. Not a trailer or something like that, but there's something.
Is it going to be the announcement that Mark Hamill wrote a whole episode by himself, starring me?
Shit? You see that? Somebody was listening to the show, Screen Rant did a story, and they, took something I was talking about Marc Bernardin, my co-host, and I was talking about how Mark's got his own show, like episode 3 is the show that Mark wrote. And so I said, Mark, episode 3 is all Mark's. And the Screen Rant writer took that to mean that Skeletor gets his own episode, and because he thought I was talking about Mark Hamill, not Marc Bernardin. But I'm like, my biggest issue with that story was like, you think Skeletor is getting one episode? Like, there's 2 fucking main characters in this franchise. There's He-Man, and right after him, and perhaps right next to him, and in many cases, probably above him, is Skeletor. Skeletor plays throughout this whole fucking thing, man. He don't get his own episode. It's his fucking show. So, that was a little strange. But I was talking about Mark, of course. So in the future, I will say Mark with a K or Mark with a C, just to differentiate.
There you go. C Mark, K Mark.
Okay, but yes, Monday. If you're interested in Motu, there might be something for you to watch.
Ooh.
I've been waiting for this for a while, so I'm glad it's going to finally get out there.
Absolutely.
Okay. WandaVision. Boom. Episode 5 dropped, correct?
Indeed.
For my money, best of the bunch. I don't even have to fucking sell my wife on this show anymore, man. She's like, is it on? And now she's just.
Yep. Wavy hands. See, I'm a little loath to dive in right here and talk about how I felt. Oop, he's back.
He's back. Fuck. What did I miss? God damn it.
All we heard was I don't even have to beg my wife to watch because she just wants to know when it's on.
Are you shitting me?
Yeah.
I said so much more after that. I hate this.
I know.
Can't stand this. It's unfucking believable, man. Like, and I was. Ugh.
You look despondent.
Like, it don't have to be this way. I mean, apparently it does because, like JC said, they can't lay a fucking wire someplace, but I feel despondent. Like, I know it's real, like, first world problems and shit like that. I know there's bigger issues going on. It's just, I feel like we're on a delay now, too. Here, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, start talking about WandaVision. I'm going to sign off and sign back on. Go.
Okay. All right. So listen, here's the thing. I really dug this episode. I dug it quite a bit. And because it's sort of beginning to pay off what we saw in episode 4 and what I hoped would happen, which was a dual storyline, right? Like we would get what was happening with Wanda and Viz inside the simulacrum. And then we would get what was happening outside the walls of the Hex with Darcy and Monica and Jimmy. And so the ways that those two things began to inform each other and play off with each other and sort of revealing things about the nature and the reality of of what Wanda has erected, or whether or not she is also the victim of something, because there's lots of talk about how she was never this powerful, even though, yes, she was one who almost took down Thanos, but Wanda herself even says that she doesn't have any recollection of creating any of this, that she is not the person who's helping every one of these 1,000 people who are stuck in he's back. In Westview, go to the dentist or walk their dogs or any of that stuff. She's not controlling everybody on a micro basis. But she's both in control and not in control. Which is, heartbreaking. And Vision, all of the fucking Vision stuff where he's beginning to realize that the world is not what he thought it was, that he can't remember anything that happened before they got to Westview. There's real tragedy there and real anger there, especially once you realize that part of his living will was that he would not be resurrected. Like once he died, he was supposed to be dead. And now he's not, because the woman who loved him didn't respect that. And out of her own grief and anger and anguish, she brought him back from the dead. All of this stuff is fantastic. And I love the way we're beginning to sort of fletch these emotional and sort of psychological realities into this story. The thing that I found myself wanting was just a refocusing on perspective. Like my ideal version of this show would have been, we open with Monica Rambeau waking up from the blip. And then you have her go through all of that stuff. And you basically, episode 4 kind of could have been episode 1. And if the idea is she and Jimmy Woo are together X-filing this fucking anomaly that's in the middle of New Jersey, right? And so she goes in, and we then see the TV show from her perspective and what's happening in here. And then she meets Wanda. And then Wanda is weird and unsettling. And why are we in a sitcom? I think is the question that you want somebody to be asking that isn't just the audience, that is actually in the drama. And then if you do it that way, then you have a character that you're following who wants something. You set up her relationship to Wanda and understand what she's all about, because somebody's putting grief on the stage very early on. And you can still have all of the weird meta-ness, and you can still have all of the decade by decade progression, and you can still have all those questions while somebody's asking them actively from within the story. And then she gets booted out, and then the story sort of continues on that pace. But just a slight reframing of the narrative for me would have made this a less somewhat frustrating experience, which is, part of the reason why I like this episode the most, because it's giving you all of that stuff. You're getting the pain from Wanda's perspective. You're getting the pain from Vision's perspective. You're getting answers to who and why and what. And I don't need answers from the beginning. That's not what I'm saying. I'm happy to be in the dark a little bit. I'm happy to be a conspiratorial viewer, like that's what mystery TV does. It takes you by the hand and walks you into the story and then leads you astray and gives you all kinds of fucking red herrings and bad clues and dead ends. That's part of the fun. But I just need a little bit of that hand holding and a little bit of that active sort of dismantling of what I'm looking for and what I'm expecting to get. But yes, all of that is to say, I think this is the best episode of the show so far. Because it's kind of doing the work that I had been doing for so much of the time. But that's just me. Kev, how do you feel?
I feel angry, Mark. Why can't I get a better internet connection? Like, I feel like I know it's a first world problem and I should shut my mouth, but I'm confused and like Vision. I don't know. I don't understand what happened and why it has to be this way.
And also because it had never been this bad before.
It's unbelievable. Like, I feel like fucking, like people must out there, they're like, what are you running it on a payphone? You got to put a quarter in every fucking 2 minutes to work. What, you got fucking squirrels running around on fucking treadmills to make your internet go? So embarrassing. Like, we're doing a show that like it's watched by 100,000, 200,000 people a week between multiple platforms. And I'm like, God, I hope my dial-up holds. that's just a lesson for anybody out there. It's like, oh man, you make movies. You live in Hollywood. You must be on Easy Street. Not at all. No. I don't know if you're familiar with a magazine called Us Weekly. There's a feature inside of it called Stars, They're Just Like Us. And I don't know if I'm a star, but just like many people, my internet is shit. It's bad. Real fucking bad. Like, and I can't do nothing about it. I got people messaging me going like, here, this could help. Literally, we had JC just come on and talk about it.
So yeah, people in chat are like, try the Starlink from Elon Musk and try the 5G. So I went on while people are saying that, and I Googled all of them. I put your address in. None of them are available at your address. Like you are just hosed.
We're in a dead zone here. Like, honestly, they want me to live a fucking life where I'm like paying attention to my family and like taking care of like the house and shit. Like, when they built this neighborhood, nobody was thinking about the internet. Fucking sucks. I'll tell you that right now. It's quiet.
Wi-Fi is the great equalizer.
It really is, man. Fuck. Here endeth the bitching. I'm sorry, but it's very frustrating because I know I'm going to start my review and it's going to be like, well, and fucking that's it for 20 minutes. I loved this episode. This was my favorite one so far. The show is exactly what I hoped it was going in. And they said the magic word this week that I was never able to express succinctly. I didn't use the term. I was always like, this show feels like sad, but they used the term grief. And that's exactly what the whole thing is about. This is somebody processing their grief writ fucking large, man. And I think that's what I found about it. That I found so attractive about it before it even started. That's what I could smell from the ads. I'm like, this is about somebody fucking dealing with incredible loss. And they're doing an excellent job of telling that story. And they're also telling it still as a mystery. Whereas like, I know more than I did last week, but I still don't know what the fuck's going on. All bets are off as to whether or not there's somebody behind all this. Everyone on the internet keeps wanting to make it Mephisto. But it could just be fucking Wanda doing it by herself. Like, and I'm not saying that is it or my thoughts. I'm just saying it's such a well-crafted mystery that every week I'm still not sure where we're going. How many episodes we got left?
I don't even know. I think it might be 3 more. Is it 8?
If a fly comes on my screen, it's going to slow my internet down. The amount of pixels it's going to take to recreate the fly. I would never kill an insect, but tonight I'd be close because I'm like, I can't lose a single fucking piece of internet, man. They're so close to the end at this point. Like, we're definitely over halfway through because it ain't 10 episodes. So if we're at episode 5, and it's still a gripping mystery, but now we know that it's a gripping mystery about one woman's grief. And remember a couple of weeks back when she was like, I had a brother, he died. I was like, that was one of my favorite top 5 scenes in Marvel, Studios history. WandaVision in and of itself is jumping into top 5 status. I find the sword story equally compelling. I'd watch 20 episodes of this. I'm not raising one to lower another and stuff, but like I've seen a few episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it never connected with me. I'd watch a fucking sword show 6 Ways to Sunday. And it's not because the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show wasn't good or the writers weren't good. In this universe, you can fucking reference, play with, bring characters over, tie storylines in. Like, Jennifer, my wife, she came into my office the next day after we watched it like Thursday at 12 o'clock at night and Friday at 12 in the morning when it dropped. When she woke up, she was just like, I can't stop thinking about that show. And she was like, still like hitting great points. And I said, you know why? I said, it's like a soap opera. I said, they've just nailed the soap opera thing, for fucking people that like superheroes. Like, This is an ongoing story. And just like a soap opera, sometimes people who haven't followed from the beginning or haven't seen everything are like, what's going on? What happened to this character? Who's cheating on who or whatever the fuck? So she's playing a bit of catch up, but she was like, it is like a soap opera. The fact that they can, like, again, I don't want anyone writing on the internet like fucking Smith shits on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. What I enjoy more about this show is that they can directly relate or reference events, bring in characters in canon and stuff, whereas Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. seem to always skirt around the outskirts of the Marvel Universe, if I'm correct.
Well, I mean, the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., was very much directly about the Avengers, the fallout from the Avengers, the attack on Manhattan. But like, you got Nick Fury once or twice, like you got Lady Sif once, like you would every now and again get something off the periphery of the Marvel Universe. And then they just abandon it entirely. And they're like, we're going to space and we're going into the future and time travel. And
it almost became, I saw a story or two this week or last week about how Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. like was meant to become Agents of S.W.O.R.D. once they went into space. So like they were working toward it, but then they were told no, because the movie division was going to be fucking with S.W.O.R.D. And boy, are they fucking with it in a good way.
Yeah.
I would watch, long story short, I would fucking watch hours of just S.W.O.R.D. It seemed fascinating. I loved, one of my new favorite fucking scenes, at least top 15, is Wanda coming out and confronting everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got the accent back. We have no idea why. She, she's wearing her outfit from Infinity War. And
she's wearing her bustier.
In her full fucking Scarlet Witch gear. Like that, I love that whole fucking scene. And then she pulled the Magneto move at the end, where all the guns turned on, just like her comic book dad, which based on what's going on with this show could be her fucking movie dad as well, as we saw with the shock fucking ending, which wasn't all that shocking because everyone kept telling us he's in the show. Evan Peters showed up as the Quicksilver, as Pietro, and they make a fucking comment about it like she recast Pietro. Darcy says, like almost like acting like all of us, the audience. And what a fantastic little twist where you're like, oh shit. Now we don't know what's going on. Some people on the internet are like, that's just Mephisto. Internet's got a hard on for Mephisto. And I honestly, really other than that devil in the details line, there's really no evidence to point to that. I don't feel like they would rock us with a big bad out of the blue. You know what I'm saying? Like one that nobody's ever heard of in the Marvel universe until now. So as much as who wrote fucking Mephisto into his Daredevil run, I love the character so much. As much as I would like to believe, oh fuck, it's Mephisto, I don't think it is Mephisto, for what it's worth. But that's what's fun about this show is fucking theorizing and speculating. They were brilliant to not fucking drop 10 episodes or 9 episodes at once. Like it forces conversation every week. If we were able to watch this all in one clip, we would have been done talking about this like a fucking Tiger King minute ago and stuff. But because they're portioning it out like they did with Mandalorian and taking us back to old TV, like every week you get excited for it. Every week it owns fucking Twitter for like from Friday morning at 12 a.m. until fucking Monday. And it makes me excited about chapter reading again. This reminds me of fucking reading comic books again. Because like, unlike the Marvel movies, which are like, here's one every 6 months or something like that, we've been getting a Marvel movie every week now in smaller doses, but still. So, it's just like the comic book experience in as much as like, oh, I'm fucking done. But instead of having to wait till next month, you only have to wait till next week.
Yeah, it's a thing that Hulu did. I mean, granted, television has been doing this for 75 years, which is like, oh, every week you get a new episode. But Hulu, I think with first with Handmaid's Tale and then later with Castle Rock, they got really good at that. We'll give you 3 episodes first or 2 episodes first, and then week by week, and I was always a fan of that as a former journalist, realizing if nothing else, the marketing potential of doing that, which is you get people talking about it every week. You get people recapping it every week. Whereas if you're going to just like, hey, we put Queen's Gambit and it's great, we love it, but we're only talking about it once. Like once you finish watching it, same with Stranger Things. Like we love it to death. We talk about it once. You saw it all right? Yeah, moving on. But now it's the water cooler, finding ways to recreate that, like, hey man, did you fucking see Lost last week? Oh shit, that was nuts. What's gonna happen next week? I don't fucking know, but that's great. And I love that about TV, more than I love that, about almost any other medium, except for maybe comics, is that we do it once a week.
It's so crazy. We're so used to a culture now in everything, but entertainment, of course, where it's like, you want it now? Here. You want it all? Here. And, we're done. What's next? No, here's another thing. The fact that, somebody's like, you just got to wait a week and then we'll give you a little more, introduces discipline to the media diet that hasn't existed for quite some time. I mean, you're definitely right to credit Hulu. But for me, it was Disney Plus. Like it's Mandalorian, it's WandaVision, where, I'm like, hey man, what do you mean fucking one at a time? What are you, crazy? And, I at first, chafed against it, but it's part of the magic. It's part of the fucking fun. Like nothing like, and this is, such a first world sentiment, believe me. There are things in life more disappointing than this, I promise you. But the moment the credits roll, it feels like nothing is more disappointing in the world than like, oh, like it's done. No. And then, but like, I can't remember the last time, except for Mandalorian, that I was excited for like a fucking Friday. This literally recreated Fridays for me, where, back in the day when I was a kid, when you were a kid, fucking Fridays were everything. And then you become an adult and you're like, it's another fucking day. They're all terrible. This fucking made Friday special again, where it's like, I got some shit to look forward to, particularly in an era where movies used to come out on Friday and we haven't had that in a fucking year, man. Like everything has really come around in a great way for WandaVision. Like, I don't know. I love it. And I think it's amazing and it's breakthrough. But like, if the world was moving at the pace that it used to move, would it slow down for this? It's Marvel, so definitely. But think about it, like all the conditions are right. We were starved for a Marvel anything for like a year at that point by the time it came. And so when it came, like, it's not just an inconsequential, like, hey, this is fucking sort of tied to some shit you like. It literally is moving the ball forward in a way that we all thought, oh, they'd only do that in a movie. There's no way they would bring the mutants in through a fucking TV show. They're not going to bring Fantastic Four in through a TV show. And they literally had fucking Monica Rambeau say, I think it was Monica Rambeau say she's creating reality. Like, that is the key to the multiverse. I mean, we know the multiverse exists, but if Wanda has like Phoenix-like godlike fucking powers, man, and if we've seen fucking an X-Man at the end of this episode, whether or not it turns out he's plucked from the X universe, we don't fucking know. But the sky is the limit at this point. It's not like, in days of old with a TV show that was remotely connected to a fucking movie franchise, you didn't see anything like this. Think about X-Files. When X-Files did their big fucking tie-in movie, remember? Mm-hmm. It was almost inconsequential to the rest of the fucking series. Like, so much so that if you didn't see that movie, you could have kept watching the next season. They're making a series where they're like, they're like, normally we do this in movie theaters where we change our entire universe in a film, but we're doing it on this. This is how fucking important, how serious we're treating this. What a fucking a breakthrough piece of media we're creating here, that we're willing to fucking put all of our eggs into this fucking basket and assume that you're going to fucking keep following the story. And they're absolutely fucking right. I think they're pulling more people in with WandaVision. I thought at the beginning, this is like, you got to be a fan to get all this. But I think it's such compelling storytelling. They're pulling in fucking new people. I know it for a fact. Every week I watch my wife go like, let's go. She never fucking lined up for Marvel, man. And now every week she's standing for Stan. So they're doing some wonderful things over there.
Yeah. I mean, I do wonder, to your point, if we weren't in the pandemic, if this wouldn't be a Thursday show or a Sunday show, you know, like, because yes, why make new competition for yourself if you don't have to? Like, yes, people are going to the movies Friday and Saturday nights. Let's not do it then. We'll do it on a night where we know they'll be home. Like HBO used to be the Sunday night jam because they knew that's when you'd be around and waiting for something else. So yeah, Game of Thrones, Sopranos, Oz, Sex and the City, you know, all of it will spool out on a Sunday. Now days they don't matter. What's today? Just like tomorrow.
Hey, but yet Disney Plus has now redefined a Friday for me where I'm like, oh, I know when Friday is. That's when the good shit happens. I just have to live until Friday at 12 a.m. That's what I fucking tell myself every week. You just hold on till fucking Friday at 12 a.m. Technically 1 a.m. because that's when you could watch the show twice, which I do. As soon as it's over, I go right back, fucking watch it again. Then I watch the fucking big highlight moments and stuff. And there were plenty of big highlight moments in this episode. We saw them almost come to fucking blows, man. Vision and the Scarlet Witch.
Yes, very Peter Pan, suspended in the air.
Yes. And it's
legs
like,
akimbo.
Like in terms of a special effect, not that special, lifting people up, but used perfectly to the point where you're like, that was fucking big. I mean, honestly, like it's not, other than how they're shooting the shows, you know, and the production value, they're not fucking going crazy with the special effects. It's compelling storytelling that's getting you from point to point, you know, and now I think we're actually going to see a lot more special effects as we've seen in the trailers, him turning into Vision, her, like the Vision we all know from the costume Vision, her flying, you know, looking like she's going into battle and shit like that. Things will probably get progressively bigger. The scene where she comes out of the hex, as Darcy now calls it, you know, looked like an expensive fucking movie scene. All them trucks, all them lights, all them fucking lasers pointed at her and shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the...
Let's talk about that scene, though. Is that nothing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe ever seems to be an accident? Mm. There's no way it was an accident that she did what Magneto did in the first X-Men movie. Do you think that was intentional? Do you think that's a foreshadowing moment?
I mean, it's for sure intentional, you know, because, you know, and I think you know it as well as anybody. Very little happens at that scale by accident. You know, like, and even if it is by accident, it then becomes intentional by virtue of, like, you kept it in the movie, like you kept it on TV. So yeah, I think it's definitely, you know, on purpose, that same evocation, even though she's not using magnet powers, she's using mind control powers, but still, whether that's foreshadowing, you know, the eventuality that in this world, Magneto's her dad, which itself is a retcon in the comic books, like her dad was Maximoff and not actually Lensher. But it is super fucking cool, you know, because that's what power looks like, you know, and I think that's, you know, that's how it was used in the first X-Men movie, which is, yeah, your puny weapons mean nothing to me. And here it's, your mind is my plaything and I can make it do what I need it to do, which includes and entails everything.
Both of them, Vision and the Scarlet Witch, were made by the Mind Stone, correct?
Yes.
Because the thing that's in his head was in
the Tesseract.
Pokey stick, the Tesseract. And that's what they were using to experiment on Wanda.
Yes.
And she destroyed it in Infinity War. Doing this, she destroyed the Mind Stone, and then Thanos brought it back together and stole the Mind Stone.
Right.
And he has a Mind Stone in this world. You think she makes it?
I mean,
she knows how to unmake a mind stone. And in a world where, like Monica said, she's creating reality, is it possible she's reproduced an infinity stone?
It is, but, it's also, what is animating Vision does not need to be the Mind Stone, because clearly it's just Wanda has in some fashion, she's given her vibrator new batteries, clearly.
How awesome was and also, once again, not expensive, because they did most of it on video monitor. But how awesome was her fucking breaking into Sword and stealing Vision's body? And they called him a synthezoid as well, where you're like...
And also, what were they doing with his body? It looked like...
It was... Now their name is... What is it? Sentient weapon?
Yeah.
So that's what they were doing with his body. He was a living weapon at one point.
But it looked like there were people experimenting. I mean, his body didn't seem to be in like cold storage somewhere.
No, it was in many pieces.
Yeah. So like that, whatever his name is, the acting director of Sword, who was like, yeah, no, she was in Vision's living will that he wouldn't be brought back to life. He didn't want to be used as a weapon to anybody else. Sword is experimenting on that dude, probably trying to figure out how to make another one. And so the high horse of that guy to claim that Wanda was being a terrorist by stealing Vision's body. It's like, yeah, you guys weren't playing up and up either.
On the talk back, a couple questions. Chris says, I think those commercials are Wanda's parents. That seems to be the general consensus of the internet thus far, is that the same man and woman are in every one of those commercials. The latest one was for Lagos, for fucking bad spills, and looked like a bloody spill on the counter and shit like that. Yeah, so yes, I think we all agree to that. Mozartistic One says, can we discuss Vision becoming aware of what's going on? Yes, that was awesome. The moment where he fucking pulls Norm out of it, and Norm is like, it hurts, I'm scared and shit.
Yeah, my wife was sick. Where's my phone? Like, all I want to do is I don't know where I am. Where are we? Where's my stuff?
And him getting like starting to freak out and stuff like that. And, which coupled nicely with the moment we saw in the trailer over and over again where Agnes, goes, should we go back to the top? Because Vision does something slightly off script where he's like, oh, I don't want her to hold the babies. And then she looks at Wanda lost, as if Wanda's either the actress or the director, going like, should we go back to the top? And then, fucking Vision's like, isn't that weird? And Wanda's covering for her. And then at one point, fucking Agnes sprays some shit on the kids who go from babies to suddenly being able to grow themselves. Wanda's magic doesn't affect the kid. She tries to put them to sleep and shit, but they still cry and whatnot. So I wonder, they just keep layering fucking, it's like a Frito pie mystery. Just layer upon layer of wonderful content. Every fucking episode they keep doing it. I lost the question I had.
I heard an interesting theory. A buddy of mine, Dan Evans, thought that each commercial is keyed to a particular infinity stone. So the toaster is Vision and the Mind Stone. The watch is the Time Stone. The box of soap is the Tesseract. The Lagos towels is the ether, for when you make a mess you didn't mean to. And, there's 4 more episodes, which means that there's, 1 more than, got 2 more than we have in Infinity Stones. But still, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I like that theory.
I buy that theory. I co-sign that. Here, talk some more. I'm sorry, I got to deal with something real quick. Say something smart about the show.
I will say, I remember being on Star Trek, and my boss at the time, we were talking about, bringing in characters from, other series and crossovers, and basically it's the appeal and the deployment of nostalgia as story, as operative story. And the idea was always like, we can't just use a character because deep fans will remember and recognize it. It has to have an actual legit story purpose. We can hear you texting.
Sorry, yeah. Let me press mute. I'm trying to put out a small fire here. Go.
Small fires. So like while I appreciated seeing Pietro Quicksilver in this one, I wanted it to be more than that. Like just seeing that dude's face doesn't necessarily mean something if you don't know who that guy is. Or if you don't know that guy is a Quicksilver from a different franchise, that it doesn't imply the crossing of streams, the opening of multiverses, which is cool if you know. And I dug it for that, but I wanted there to be something more. I wanted him to mean something more to Vision and to an audience that didn't know. But I still thought it was kind of cool. I thought it was cool, but I just needed it to have some context that made it worth that big bump moment.
Yeah, I guess there's that aspect, of course, like, I did have to explain to Jennifer, she's like, because I was like, when they revealed Evan Peters, and which also allowed me to be like, well, let me show you, courtesy of Disney Plus, him in action as Quicksilver in that first, the first X-Men movie that he was in, Days of Future Past. Mm-hmm. So it'd be, not everyone gets that huge moment unless you're like an ardent viewer of not just the Marvel movies, but the X-Men movies as well, going way back and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's small price to pay. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember fucking watching Dallas or Dynasty with my mother, and my mother going at certain moments, and me going like, I don't understand, because I didn't watch the show every week, and she'd be like, well, that's fucking JR and her were doing it and whatever the fuck. So like, sometimes you got to hold somebody's hand a little bit.
Right. And I thought it's a cool moment, but just as this big momentous blow off the episode, it just felt you needed to be deep in the club to have that moment mean anything. Which, I suppose by episode 5 of this show, they're banking on the fact that you are deep in the club. Your dues are paid up.
I feel like they're right. I mean, granted, my Google News algorithm, shows me on shit that I'm interested in stuff, but then I switch over to just trending topics, and WandaVision, tends to be trending all the fucking time over the weekend. People talking about it, and granted, there are a lot of Marvel fans on the internet and stuff, but I'm telling you, it can't just be my wife who's like, oh, I never watched this shit, but now I am watching this shit. I think they're catching a lot more people. I think they're going to catch Emmy attention. I think not only is the show going to wind up getting nominated for awards and stuff, but I think there's no chance in hell Elizabeth Olsen doesn't get nominated. She's just so fucking wonderful. And we're going to watch her slowly unravel. We're starting to see it in places. The veneer is cracking. And so what a gift, for her as an actress with that character. Who got cool scenes in a bunch of movies, but this is her showcase, and boy, is she up for the challenge of pulling off the stuff that they're handing her, man. She's a great actress. He's wonderful as well.
Yeah.
Number one, he's just so infinitely listenable with a British accent, a classy British accent. But number two, you forget that this guy, Paul Bettany's been there since the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, part of the fucking DNA of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's why I wonder, man, if there's the big story that came out this week where some journalists asked Elizabeth Olsen, is there anything coming that's Luke Skywalker and the Mandalorian huge? And she's indicated yes. She didn't say that herself, there's something this fucking huge, but she indicated huge things were coming, and so that lit the internet on fire, and everybody's been speculating. I myself speculated that it might be Thanos, being that she's got history with fucking Thanos. Would it be a weird thing if he showed up in an episode? But now I'm starting to think, Vision is tied directly into Tony Stark. Is it possible?
I mean, that's where my head goes, because the thing that Vision, the big piece of information that Vision doesn't have, is that Tony Stark is dead. his father, his progenitor, his creator, the man for whom we begin this entire story with, is gone, and Vision doesn't know it. And if that, synthezoid has a heart anywhere buried beneath the vibranium wires and whatever, that would break it in two.
And he doesn't seem to know his history.
Yes.
He seems to know everything about her and him, and they have these abilities and stuff like that. But he doesn't seem to have any recollection of being an Avenger, or, I guess we're going to see that in the next episode, which is the, we kept seeing in all the trailers when he wakes up Agnes. I don't think I'm spoiling anything. It's been there since the beginning, where she's like, oh my God, you're the Avengers, or whatever the fuck. So right now, it doesn't seem like he knows that he was part of the Avengers. Doesn't seem to know that there are other heroes. Has he referenced anybody else?
I think he might have acknowledged Ultron when Geraldine. No, he wasn't in the scene when Geraldine talks about it. So no.
Think about it. He's never once referenced the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's referenced their universe, in WandaVision, but never,
right, which itself is after. Fake, and because
this week get very frustrated where he's like, I can't remember. And that's a Paul Bettany, but you know what I was going for.
And he doesn't know that they're not married. As far as he knows, all he knows is Westview. All he knows is that, he's her husband and she's his wife, and they have these two children. And that's all that, according to her, he needs to know.
He says that he can't remember anything before Westview.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the week he remembers by talking to Agnes when she says you're an Avenger or whatever the fuck. So yeah, in that instance, do you think we know that this show is being produced relatively close to the time that we're watching it. It's not like they're all done when they started. They're not too far behind, more or less. And they're certainly not reacting in real time. The show's too big. But let's say when they started, they didn't have a Tony Stark level cameo lined up. And then after fucking Mandalorian and Luke, they were like, fuck, we gotta draw big or go fucking home, go big or go home. And maybe it's something that came later down the line. I don't know. At this point, literally, we're just fucking being conspiracy theorists. But I could see a world where if we don't see Tony Stark, we at least hear Tony Stark. And I don't mean old Tony Stark. I mean maybe new Tony Stark.
Maybe. All things are possible.
Wasn't he just in the news recently about some fucking...
he did say something to the effect, and I remember some, interview, whatever, where he was like, I don't know if I'm entirely done, but, never say never to Marvel, I think is what he said. But I think he also said Tony Stark is dead.
Yes, and Tony Stark can still be dead and show up in WandaVision, as we've seen.
Indeed. Everybody's dead and is showing up in WandaVision.
Very, very true. Once again, they're fucking just making life worth living over there at Marvel. God bless Kevin Feige, the only Kevin we need to save at all costs. Every Kevin is expendable. Every Kevin.
Heart.
I'm talking about Kevin Smith. Except for Kevin Feige. That's the only Kevin that fucking matters in this sick old world. Making magic over at Marvel. God bless. WandaVision. That's what we've bought, and that's what we thought, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we move on to, I bet you, some news, because Mark, he's got the news in his blood. He's an old news hound and stuff. And so even though he retired from the land of news, and as you hear, he's a creative. He's writing comic books, fucking working on secret shit he can't tell you about, working on TV shows and shit like that. But he can't get that stink of the news off him unless he uses native deodorant. NativeDEO.com, ladies and gentlemen.
To get the stinking news off you, use the code FATMAN at checkout.
Think of the old news that shit. NativeDEO.com/fatman. Mark's an old newsman, and so he brought some news for you. Mark, what's this week's news?
Back into the world of Marvel, because it's a world that, we A, can't escape, and B, have no desire to.
We want to stay there.
We want to stay there. And they are endeavoring to make sure that we do, because Ryan Coogler, Black Panther filmmaker, has just signed a massive 5-year overall deal with Disney, part of which is developing a World of Wakanda Disney Plus TV show.
So smart.
Yes.
So fucking smart. Like, I'm sure they've been, trying to figure out what their plans are going to be for another Black Panther movie now that sadly Chadwick Boseman is gone. This would certainly buy them a lot of time to go play in the world of Wakanda without having to we got to make a movie now without our main character and stuff. But even if they do them side by side, even if they're making a Black Panther 2 right now and making this series later, it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
It's a great location. It allows for the imagination runs wild. We saw only pieces of it. And there's so much more they could dive into and shit. I'd watch a fucking all Shuri show, but I'm sure we're not going to get that. But I'm all for it. I read this shit. I was like, chef's kiss. That's fantastic.
Yeah. He's actively writing the next Black Panther film, which is supposed to start shooting, later this year, and is due out July 8th, 2022 is the release date. So it's moving, it's happening. But that idea that Wakanda is a relatively big place. We've only ever just seen the capital city of Wakanda, and we've only ever met a handful of characters. And even if you were going to do just Black Panthers, there's 1,000 years worth of Black Panther stories to tell that don't have to involve T'Challa.
I just want to point out to Kabuki Kid in the talkbacks, he said Jeff's kiss. It ain't no Jeff's kiss, all right? It's chef's kiss. Chef's kiss.
Yes, but if it's Jeff Bridges, I will also give that man a kiss.
That's true, man. Fucking, you don't mind fucking Jeff's kiss when it comes from fucking dude abide.
Dude.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. And fucking, he's such a good storyteller. I just rewatched Creed for no good reason the other day.
Just because you could.
It's just a wonderful movie. You can see, why he did such a great job on Black Panther. He entered a universe and told the story in universe with Black Panther. He did the same thing with fucking Creed. He entered a universe and told the story in universe. And, it was one of the best fucking stories they've told in that universe since the very first story they ever told in that universe.
Yeah. And it takes these moments. I love Creed, because it's so much about the relationship between Tessa Thompson's character and Michael B. Jordan's character. And so much of that is just quiet. So much of that is just him taking her braids out and having a conversation about what they want about the future. And yeah, when you get in the ring, it's awesome and visceral, and you're right there next to fucking Donnie. But there's so much love and care given to telling those character stories, which is, you get that dude to do whatever he wants to do, and you pay him handsomely to do it. Agreed.
Pay him everything. That is fantastic news. God, it just makes me want to watch Creed again, and I literally just watched. You're absolutely right. They're the romance between those two is moving, compelling, quiet, organic, very real. Mm-hmm. Don't feel like the movie romance and stuff. And it has easily, not easy, but one could easily say it's got movie fucking romance tropes going on and stuff, but very believable. And honestly, one of the most interesting things about a movie that's packed with fucking interesting things, a movie that's technically a Rocky sequel, and one of the most interesting aspects of it is those two and their relationship. But that's because you got two fantastic fucking actors pulling it off. He's a fucking amazing kid who was amazing way back in the day, and she's fantastic in literally fucking everything. I got my wife to watch fucking Thor Ragnarok. Go figure, man. She was because I was it's got Kate Blanchett, and she was like, all right. And then she had seen the Valkyrie character in Endgame and stuff. Mm-hmm. She was like, who's that? So I was like, oh, you get to meet Valkyrie here. And then she's got the big fucking opening scene where she rocks the guns and kills everybody. And Jennifer was like, "Oh, I'm in." I'm like, even better than that. I was like, she becomes the king of Asgard. And I was like, that's later down the road. So yeah, man, fucking, I'm off.
I was just gonna jump in. The reason you're watching Creed might be that the composer from The Mandalorian, Ludwig Göransson, is the guy who composed all the music in Creed.
Is that right?
So if you were still riding the Mandalorian train, it may have just subconsciously taken you into Creed.
Gotta fly now. I'm sure I could mash up fucking the Rocky theme and the Mandalorian theme and the Creed theme, but I'm not that talented.
I did see this thing on YouTube where, they played the Mandalorian theme, as you just very adequately and expertly did a cover of. But also inside of it, like the dude was playing the keyboard, whatever, like Mando theme. And then right in the middle of it, all of the Star Wars themes, like here's the Imperial March, here's the throne room scene, here's whatever. And all of it works because Göransson was working in the same sort of modality and key structure and note structure and chord structure as John Williams was. Like he's that fucking deep nerd about it, which is, it needs to feel Star Wars, but it needs to be its own thing. And you know how it feels Star Wars because if you play Star Wars, it feels like it's part of it. I thought that was fascinating.
Grace Haven in the chat said, Kevin, the world has been Gregged because of you. Do you know what Gregging is? Have you ever heard that term?
No, but I hope it requires consent.
Is that like fucking like Jeff's kiss? What does that mean? What does the term Gregged mean? I want to give Jeff a kiss, says Anthony Perrone, the dude from Clerks. That's right, Jeff Anderson. Jeffrey Jim says Greg's it. But I mean, what does that mean? The Greg, what is it? I got to read that again. I was real like, what? I'm responsible for Gregging? What does that mean? What does that mean?
I don't really know. And maybe I shouldn't know. Maybe it's
Honda Forever says Berlanti. Mike D says old Greg drinks Baileys from a shoe. All is Greg, says Human Hyperbole. Come on, man. And now they're fucking
just making shit up.
Yeah, Gainsible goes, it means you got old Greg. Greg, all right. Spider-Mensch says, Greg, a person is Gregged if they're both excessively drunk and acting in a comically inappropriate manner. Is that right? I've never heard of that.
Yeah. And how you're responsible for that?
I don't know, but boy, oh boy, I've been fucking kissing Jeff and I've been Gregged. Oof. Ross Diaz says San Antonio loves that Kevin referenced Frito pie. Let me tell you something. I fucking love Frito pie. And it's like, if you use vegan cheese, you can make a vegan Frito pie. So I'm on board. Fritos, vegan as fuck. Only 3 ingredients in a Frito: corn, oil, salt. Bam. You got a Frito. I'm sorry I'm Gregging out here, man. I'm totally Gregging it.
I did not expect this to suddenly be like the cooking channel. Like, let me tell you, man. Fucking corn, salt, oil. That's all you need. That's a good time, baby. You put that shit in the shit.
You got a stew, baby. Remember fucking on Arrested Development? Carl Weathers was like, you got a bone, you got some broth, you got a stew, baby.
Man, you just made yourself a fucking chili ski. Just slope that shit right into your face. Everybody wins.
Sean Cisco says Fritos is a sponsor now. Fuck, I wish we had some of that Frito-Lay money. Are you kidding me? This show, if we had some Frito-Lay money, we'd be on fucking television. Never mind the internet.
Oh, hell yes.
You got Gregged, motherfucker. You got Gregged.
That feels like the punchline of the Anal Vice detectives. You got Gregged.
You got Gregged. Jeff's kiss. Because one of the Anal Vice detectives' name is Jeff.
Of course it is.
So whenever they put a criminal down, he's like, that was a great bust, partner. And he goes, Jeff's kiss.
You got Gregged.
Yeah! Greg equals stoned, says Samina Yappa. I don't know if that's it.
Again, not a thing you can be responsible for.
So true. All right. What other news we got?
More Marvel.
Everything Marvel. Just keep all the
Marvel.
Make it all Marvel news. Fuck everything.
All Marvel news. You and I think the rest of the nerd world was very excited when it was announced that Mahershala Ali would be playing the Daywalker, Blade. And yes, I continue to be incredibly excited that this is going to happen. And now we are one step closer to it happening because they've officially hired a writer to write the Blade film.
Who is it?
A woman named Stacey Osika-Four, who was she's been on Watchmen, that little thing.
That's a great pedigree. Come off Watchmen. Fuck, not bad. Anybody come off Watchmen.
Fuck yeah, and Amazon's Hunters and the Hulu series Pen 15.
Oh shit, that's a diversified fucking resume. That means they'll get some action, they'll get some funny, and the humor, they'll get some, fucking they're well-rounded.
Indeed, and if looking at her resumes of anything, she's got an Emmy under her belt for Watchmen, which didn't win. Yes.
But when wins for writing, everybody that wrote on it wins an Emmy?
If the specific episode, yes. I mean, the writer of that specific episode gets an Emmy, but then if it's, if it wins for best, drama or best miniseries or whatever, I believe if you're a producer or above, you get an Emmy for that as well. Or at the very least, you can say, I worked on the Emmy-winning Watchmen, which is also true.
So weird. I never, when I first got into the business, I got into the business on the fucking indie film end and stuff, where awards and criticism, getting good critical notices were important and stuff like that. So at the beginning of my career, and this is not me lamenting one iota whatsoever, but at the beginning of my career, I won awards for the movies that I made and stuff. It was so weird because that was not the intent. I was never I'm hoping to make an award-worthy film. But those days are long gone, and I don't ever I don't have that in me where I'm ooh man, I would like to win one of those. What does one have to do to win that and stuff? I just I'm happy when I hear people won and stuff, but oddly enough, awards never did it for me, and probably because I never considered anything I do fucking remotely award worthy and stuff. But it's so not a part of my makeup. If I think the next award, if I ever get another award, it'll probably be here's the posthumous, he was an all right guy award that they give out, fucking maybe the Golden Globes or some such shit. But yeah, it's so does that help? Does that, you've got more of an ear to the ground and a finger on the pulse of the writer's game. Does that raise your station? Does you get paid more if you win an Emmy?
I think it does two things. It gets you meetings you might not ordinarily have been able to get. It gets you into rooms that you might not be able to get previously. And yeah, you can bump your quote. Yeah, I got a fucking Emmy. That is worth X. If you're a director or a screenwriter of features, that is worth whatever. It's also a thing they can now use to sell the fact that you're on this movie. This is from Oscar winner, so forth and so on. But if
you said she worked on Watchmen, I was oh, Watchmen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's every actor who was on The Wire will always get meetings simply because you were on the fucking Wire. It's 20 years ago. But yeah, fucking, I'm sure that somebody will want to be in a room with Idris Elba and ask about playing Stringer Bell. If you do that work, that is sort of rewarded by the establishment and held in esteem by your peers, that will do a little something for you.
And as huge as he was as Stringer Bell, and it broke him fucking massive and created him as the rising star that he was, and now he's a fucking huge international star. So weird. I rarely ever think of him as Stringer Bell anymore. He's done so much work that that which is one of his most compelling roles. I don't even, it doesn't cross my mind that often. But yeah, you're right. He goes right back to the fucking Wire, man.
Yeah, I mean, and which is great that he's had the capacity and the ability to be able to stretch and be more than that. Because, when Sean Connery won an Oscar after having not played James Bond for 30 years, they still played the fucking James Bond theme song when he went up to collect his Oscar. It's like there are certain things and certain people for whom you will always imagine them as the first thing you saw them in.
So true, man. So true. And it's like, you know, in terms of, I just had a real flash of like, at first I thought it was, what do they call that? White privilege. But then I realized it's not so much white privilege as it is, what would I call it? Because it ain't about being white, but I've never had, I can get a meeting with almost anybody. I could pitch anywhere, but it don't mean they buy. But like, so that's why I don't ever, you know, for me, it was never a big deal to get into a room because it's not like that ever got me something. You know what I'm saying? Like but I've had no problems getting into a room. And then for a minute, when you were talking about like that Emmy gets people into a room, I was like, oh shit. And then for a second, I was like, oh, that's my white privilege, where I'm like, well, I just get into rooms. But I don't think it is white privilege. I think that's Clerks privilege. Like I'm still eating out on fucking Clerks 27 years later, bro. Like that, I still get meetings. Like people, and on one level, it's kind of a waste of time, I guess, because they're not really gonna take what you're pitching unless it's like the most brilliant idea. And let's be honest, I haven't had those in a long time. So generally, you wind up meeting with a bunch of people who are just like, oh my God, I love Clerks. And so, you know, I get into rooms. I realize right now that like, it's that more than anything else. It's just like, you were part of something that was a part of my world before I did all this. And, you know, the least I could do is sit down and talk to you.
Yeah, I remember there was about 2 years ago, I was developing a TV show that at the time was hopefully going to star Sylvester Stallone. Which was ridiculous and awesome. And I got to have a couple meetings with Sly, and it was so much fun and surreal in every way you imagine would be surreal. And then for like, you know, after Sly was like, listen, I don't think I want to star in this. That's, you know, TV's a lot of work, and, you know, I can be like a guest star or whatever, but like, I'll produce it for you. If that'll help. It's like, but you know who'd be great in this? Carl Weathers would be great as your star. And I was like, yeah, for every reason possible. But also, there's no meeting you can't get if you're walking into a room with like Rocky Balboa and Apollo Creed to pitch a TV show. Like that, for that same reason. Like
you won't be pitching to junior execs. You'll be pitching to the head of the network, probably the head of the company.
For sure. Like I'm pitching to whatever Japanese guy actually owns Sony, you know, we're like, oh, no. We're past, you know, whatever white dude is running the studio now. We're going straight to Tokyo. And half that pitch is going to be like taking pictures with fucking Rocky and Apollo. I'm telling you, I've gone on, I remember when I was pitching Mallrats 2, and I got to go everywhere. I stopped going at a certain point because it got disconcerting. But like, they were all happy to be like, you know, have you in and be like, oh my God, I fucking love Mallrats, man. I remember watching that with my friends and blah, blah, blah. And then I rock them with like, all right, well, here's Mallrats 2. And to be fair, what I eventually wound up writing as Mallrats 2 was not the Mallrats 2 that I pitched to all those cats. But like, once I started pitching like Mallrats 2, like all that joy of, oh my God, I fucking love Mallrats goes away, because they're like, oh shit, I gotta let this guy down, because I ain't making fucking Mallrats 2. You know, like I was fucking fine when I was 16 years old, but my job hangs in the balance. I've seen that expression. I've been in that meeting many times where I'm like, oh, I get it. And I don't take offense. I'm not like, well, why did you waste my time? Hoof, and get out or something like that. I'm just fucking happy to be in a room. I'll be honest with you, like one of my favorite jobs I ever got never wound up like becoming anything. But the Kingdom Keepers show that I was going to do at Disney Plus before Disney Plus became, you know, the Mandalorian and the Marvel shows, which was kind of bittersweet. But you know, those shows are so good, I don't give a fuck that they didn't do the Kingdom Keepers show. But like, I went into that pitch so like, you know, I'm never getting this fucking job, so I could just go in like a human being instead of like, you know, let me try to dazzle these folks. And so I went in like with my laptop. And I was like, look, instead of pitching, can I just read you what I wrote? It's a 16-page document, but I'll go fast and I'll look up and make eye contact. But like,
would you mind if I did that? And they were like, yeah, go. That'd be great. Go ahead. And I got that job. And like, that was one of the greatest jobs I ever had. I'm, it's sad the show didn't go forward, but it's a concept that's one day its time will come. Favreau tried to do the, Disney After Dark movie. And then we were trying to do the Disney After Dark TV series and stuff. Sooner or later, somebody's going to fucking do it. So they're going to be like, now would have been the time with fucking Disneyland being closed.
Look at it. It's all yours.
And they got a set sitting right there wide open and shit. But the like expectation I had walking into that room was like, never getting this fucking job. And I got that job. Same thing with Masters of the Universe. Like when I talked to the Mattel folks about Masters of the Universe, I was like, nobody's going to give me a fucking Masters of the Universe show to run. So I'll just fucking be myself and say what I would do with a Masters of the Universe show. And I got that job. The key to this is like, never overthink it. You don't have the job. Don't even think you're ever going to get the job. And then you go in at this weird place of like Zen where you're like, all right, maybe, I'm now with Zoom pitches, it's even easier because I don't even have to think about like, oh man, I fucking took a shower and I fucking got in my car and I had to drive 45 minutes to fucking Santa Monica and then fucking watch that plain-faced motherfucker like not show me anything when I told him the greatest fucking idea in the world. Fuck this business. That's all gone because now it's just like, boop. Hey man, so here's my pitch and you're out in 10 minutes. If they don't buy it, you're like, whatever, I didn't leave my office. Bloop, and then you're back to smoking weed and it's all fucking good.
Yeah, I've decided to start approaching these meetings with what I have to assume is the same level of might as well as like, and I do not in any way mean to cast aspersions on the two fellas who did Game of Thrones, but they had never run a TV show before they did Game of Thrones. Like there was no like, shit guys, like, I'm sorry, we can't give it to you because you've never run a TV show. We're not going to give you the biggest TV show in the history of the world. They went in, they pitched the story they wanted to tell. They pitched it to George R. Martin first, then pitched it to HBO, and they said, yeah, go make a show. And like, that's now how I've decided to start approaching shit, which is, you know what?
And they made a show for a good 6 seasons, and then they stopped making a show.
Well,
but you're absolutely right. Like those cats were not, it's not like they were like, look at my Greg Berlanti sized dick and my huge Empire TV shows and shit. They had never run a show before. And they're like, can we make a $15 million per episode TV show, please? And they're like, okay. And off they went.
Yes. So I am now entering every meeting with that level of, and it's not hubris. It's like, fuck it. Why not?
I mean, what do they say? Fake it until you can make it. Those dudes were just like, yeah, dragons, swords, we could do it. And then they were like, all right, here's all the money in the world. And they were like, fuck.
We got to do this now.
That's the worst part, man. Getting the job is hard enough. And then when they're like, all right, do it. You're like, fuck.
Yeah. I remember the first time I ever sold anything, this pilot script that I'd written that eventually got sold to Warner Brothers. I sold it. And then my wife was like, why are you not more happy? And I was like, well, because now it's real. Like at some point, somebody will want me to make more of these. And then I have to do that. I'm like, Yeah. She's like, but it's what you want. It's like, oh no, I know, I'm happy. But the reality of it is dawning on me in a way I didn't expect it to.
So damn true.
Yes.
All right, what else we got?
More news. And I think this one will be resonant in a way to both of us. It's the title that I wrote down is Buck Rogers in a Battle Against Chain of Title, which is the Buck Rogers estate has fired a cease and desist letter to Legendary about their recent development of a TV reboot of Buck Rogers. The George Clooney and his Smokehouse partner Grant Heslov are going to executive produce, and Brian K. Vaughan is writing. Apparently, the Buck Rogers interests have already penned an agreement with Skydance to exploit the property. Be advised that Buck Rogers' interests have blah, 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 blah. Your conduct is slander of title of the rights of the Buck Rogers interest own. Demand is made that you correct the record publicity, as Legendary Murphy have no chain of title. You are directed to advise all third parties, including any insurers, distributors, and financiers, that is no chain of title held by Legendary or Don Murphy, who's also producing.
Ah, the fun of Buck Rogers, kids. Remember that adventure where Buck got into litigation over chain of title ownership? This is as interesting as the opening of fucking episode 1 with the Trade Federation and shit like that. Last week, we had a great story about how George Clooney might be Buck Rogers. This week, they're like, not so fast. Skydance owns that. Why wouldn't Skydance be like, keep fucking doing it, keep doing it, and then jump out once they got a fucking go picture? That's when if I'm Skydance, I'm like, that's when I Skydance into the picture and be like, oh, we'll take half. But now? Why are you fucking rattling sabers now? Be like, we own that. Fuck that, man. I'm like, George Clooney's doing it? Go ahead. I'll take my cut.
Yeah. No, it's not Skydance. It's the rights owners who seem to be a little out of touch. Meanwhile, Legendary was like, we have secured the rights we need to proceed with our project, and the company will not comment any further. This same party has been claiming for years they have rights that they do not have, and have been trying to inhibit projects based on rights they do not legally control. So Legendary is like, fuck y'all, we're going anyway.
Wow. And the only way they do that is if their lawyers are like, you are ironclad, you're fine. This is not what this person says. Good. All right. So we are going to get our fucking George Clooney, Buck Rogers movie.
It seems like we're going to. Nobody's blinking. We're moving straight ahead. But
he hasn't signed on as actor, and that kind of shit might scare him.
True. He's just a producer. Like, wait, what's chain of title's not here? Fuck it.
I gotta get out of here. I got all that liquor money. What did he sell or buy? Shit or vodka.
It's tequila. The Casamigos.
He's tequila rich, right? He's
tequila rich. He's tequila rich, in the same way that The Rock is tequila rich now. He's got his own brand of tequila as well.
When do we get tequila rich, Mark? When is our tequila sunrise?
Oh, I appreciate that long walk down that particular Mel Gibson, Michelle Pfeiffer road.
Little Kurt Russell.
Yes.
All right, what else we got?
The director of The Eternals, a woman named Chloe Zhao.
She directed Nomadland?
Yes, which is getting all kinds of award season notes.
All the love from the critics and the
all the love from the critics. Is making a Dracula movie. She is signing on to Universal's attempt to refashion Dracula, much in the same way, I think, that Blumhouse refashioned Invisible Man.
I like it.
But her Dracula project, however, will be a far cry from the more traditional or even modern incarnations made over the years. Details are being kept very secret, but her version is an original futuristic sci-fi Western. Themes of being on society's fringes, which is something that Zhao has tackled in much of her previous work.
Dracula sci-fi Western?
Yes.
He's just a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania?
Indeed.
All right, you know what? I'll go. Look, Universal reinvented Invisible Man, and I was like, holy fuck, man. These are your monster movies. This is what you do. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I'll go with it. Not what I would think of when I thought of, fucking Dracula. Never thought I'd see the words Dracula and
Futuristic Western.
Futuristic Western. Whatever. Isn't there a movie we talked about recently where they're doing just that one chapter of Dracula?
Yeah, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which is based on the crossing from Carpathia into London.
It's a lot of Dracula out there. A lot of Dracula in the air.
Bat. Yes.
Indeed. All right, I'm in. What else you got? Sell me another show.
I will not sell you another show. We will now do the thing we have been doing with alarming frequency, which is saying goodbye to a beloved elder of our business, Christopher Plummer.
This was not COVID related, though, was it?
It does not seem to be. He was 91 years old, and which is a hell of a
91?
91, and had been working until the very end.
Yeah.
Knives Out was a year ago. year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm. I remember he fucking took Spacey's place and was all the money in the world or whatever. Yeah, he was. I mean, you know, throw a rock and you hit a great Christopher Plummer performance, even in shit like Dragnet. One of my favorite Christopher Plummer performances of all time was him like going from Orange County. Here we go under that fucking that devil mask and shit. What was her name? Scum, Citizens, something. No, what was it? I forget. It was an acronym. You know what? Someone will fucking write it in chat.
Pretty much.
Anyone remember what the bad guys were called in
Dragnet?
Dragnet, an incredible, underrated comedy.
But yeah, I mean, he was
Hagen. Thank you. Akilagan. No, that wasn't Akilagan. Thank you, Joe Bacca Wookie. Wow.
Okay. What does pagan stand for?
Pagan. Yes. Christopher Plummer, force of nature as an actor. One of the first actor whose names I knew, even before like Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher, because my mom would talk about him. That was her favorite. Oh, I love Christopher Plummer, you know, in the movies, and I love Richard Chamberlain on TV. And I was like, that on TV is the only place he's going to love you, Ma.
Yes, you got a chance with one of them.
Yeah, you got a chance with him. So he was a big figure in our house, and that movie was huge. And he never disappointed. Remember, he played fucking, was it Mike Wallace in The Insider?
Yep.
And he didn't look a fucking thing like Mike Wallace, and still he pulled it off. He was such a good actor, Mark. He acted like Mike Wallace, and we believed it, even though he was
so good.
Yeah.
He was Rudyard Kipling in The Man Who Would Be King. He played Sherlock Holmes opposite James Mason in Murder by Decree. He played a fucking Klingon in Star Trek.
Havoc!
And let's slip the dogs of war.
That's right. Most of the Shakespeare that I know is from Christopher Plummer as a Klingon in Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country, or whatever it was.
To be or not to be, in the original Klingon.
Yes. Oh my God. Guess who's coming to dinner? That was such a fantastic movie. Now you can make me want to watch The Undiscovered Country. He was so fucking good in it.
Oh, he's great. He's great. I mean, yeah, he was in fucking Knives Out, Danny Collins, The Forger, Muhammad Ali's Greatest Fight, this great 2013 HBO movie about Ali's Supreme Court case. About
Alan Padini in chat says, didn't he play Ming from Flash Gordon? No, not at all. That was
sadly, that's another. Yes, that's who we've already lost. We already eulogized poor Max von Sydow. But yeah, he was a fantastic actor, a pillar of stage and screen, and did just about anything he wanted to do. Like Return of the Pink Panther, sure. Battle for Britain, why not? 12 Monkeys, happy to be there. Inside Man, done.
Oh my God, that's right. He was in fucking 12 Monkeys. He was not, however, as Lion-O suggests, he got messed up by Kylo Ren. That was also Max von Sydow. I mean, Christopher Plummer had a huge career. Please don't confuse he was not Brewmeister Smith in fucking Strange Brew either. That was Max von Sydow.
That is another jowly old white dude.
There's people out there going, Christopher Plummer, didn't he play chess with death in that one fucking movie? No. That was
sorry.
Oh, for God's sakes. What an incredible talent this man was. To make it 91 years. You know what I get out of that story? Be an actor. They live forever.
I mean, one of the things that I remember hearing this past week was that he was already 82 years old when Ridley Scott was like, hey man, do you want to hop on a plane to Rome and shoot 22 scenes of a movie in a week because you have to replace Kevin Spacey? At 82 years old, he's like, yes, I'll be there tomorrow. And gets on a fucking plane and goes and does it. And that's not easy work for anybody, let alone a man of your advanced, of that advanced age.
Time was, if you wanted to clean up some shit in this business, you called the plumber. Well, now plumber's not on call anymore. You got to go to the great stage in the sky. What a massive career. What a massive life. Seems to have fucking dodged all controversy as well. Good for him.
Yeah. I mean, either he was a top-notch guy or was smart enough not to say the wrong things in front of a microphone.
No
Either
doubt.
way, it is a talent that seems to be fading.
He was never creeping up in anybody's Instagram DMs talking about eating ribs or nothing like that. Christopher Plummer, he was one of the good ones.
Wasn't gregging anybody.
Will not see his like again. I should really call my mother. She's probably heartbroken about all this.
Yeah.
Now she'll never get to marry him. Like, Ma, I don't think that was in the cards. Yes, what a legend. What a fucking great actor, man. What a loss. Death, Mark. It comes for us all.
Yes.
Even for kings, even for Chris Plumbers.
The undiscovered country from which no traveler ever returns.
Undiscovered country. Fucking
there it is.
He was in.
Wordplay.
Did Julie Andrews say anything? Must have.
Yeah. I think she went on the record just saying what a lovely man he was. And even though Christopher Plummer didn't really like Sound of Music, it was like, I was a Shakespearean trained actor and this was nonsense. Like I had to use every bit of my talent to imbue this character with anything resembling humanity or depth. And he didn't do like almost none of his own singing. Like somebody else came in and did all that singing.
So for him, it's like, come on. It's not me doing like my world's best acting. And everyone's like, that's enough, bro. You're Captain Von Trapp.
Yeah, shut it down, bro.
Yeah. You are fucking Captain Von Thirst Trap. That's all we want out of you, Plumber. You just keep the fucking water flowing.
All we want is that anal vice, baby.
Yes. Anal vice. Bless my homeland forever.
Yes.
Great Christopher Plummer, man. Good for Ryan Johnson. He got to work with him. Like he gave him a huge fucking role at the end. Like fucking knocked out. That was a big part. It wasn't just like, and Christopher Plummer, he was fucking, without him, he got no movie.
Yeah. He's crucial to it. And, fucking killed it. Fucking killed it. So yes, R.I.P., rest in peace, Christopher Plummer.
Mad Poe in the chat asked, did we watch Soul of the Dragon? Not yet. I was remiss this week. I watched WandaVision, but before that, I watched the same day, Cherry. Have you seen it?
Not yet. It's on my list.
Wonderful. The Russo brothers, they're the real deal, man. It's not just like, they know how to make Marvel movies. True fucking filmmakers. Like, and what a great argument for like two heads are better than one. Beautiful movie, quiet epic. The kid's great. Like, I'll watch him read the fucking phone book, like, or toast marshmallows, but he's fucking wonderful in this movie. He ain't, just Spider-Man cute and all shucks. He's a fucking wonderful performance. I love the flick. I couldn't believe that's what it was. I had no idea that's what the movie was going to be. It's based on a book. And basically it's about opioid addiction.
Wow.
At the root of it all. And, having been, I've never dealt with it myself, but having known people that have dealt with it, pretty fucking close. Like, very, really insanely well made. So watch that. It's coming out. I saw it early because the Apple gave out like a for your consideration link. So I got to watch it before it pops on Apple, but it's on
I think March, right?
Yeah, coming pretty soon, I guess. Is that when it is? March?
I think so.
Wow, I saw it early then. Fuck, it's good. Like, it's really good. Those guys are fucking great filmmakers. And I don't know what's going on, if it counts for this year or next year, but like, it could totally fucking get awards. And they could totally get a directing nomination. Like, it's beautifully made. What else did I watch? I watched an old movie just because we watched, Denzel in The Small Things or The Little Things, whatever that movie is. Did you ever see him in Safe House with Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah, I like that movie.
It's a fucking good flick, right? Like, I don't think Denzel Washington makes a bad movie. He
I
may
like
not
that.
always, like choose something that I'm like, oh, I would love to see that right away. But like, he's always making like pretty solid choices with his scripts. It was really totally watchable flick.
That was part of his like old man meets young white dude series. Like there's a whole mess of those. Like what is it, Unstoppable, the train movie
The
he made
one
with
who's
Chris
on a
Pine,
train, that one.
which I love. And like they're almost always Tony Scott movies because I think that was also his jam. There's Two Guns with him and Mark Wahlberg. And yeah, and Safe House, which is like, yeah, it's totally fun. It's fucking like Denzel doing like cool action old man shit with a young dude.
A variation to the very deep variation of the Equalizer. Like, but in as much as I was trained to kill.
Right.
But I can watch the Equalizer like fucking all day long. Like any of the, like sometimes in the morning I get high and I just sit here on YouTube and watch Equalizer clips. Both 1 and 2. It's just so fun when they fucking let him fight and he looks at people and he's all calm and just takes people out like systematicamente. Oh, he's like fucking old Batman. It's amazing. All right. Somebody asked here, where was it? It was pretty. Gay Lord of the Rings. Great name, by the way. Holland was great in The Impossible before playing Spidey. You've seen that picture, right?
Yeah.
That movie's painful to watch, man. Like fucking, because you're like, who? Like, there's so many. She's got a big gash in her leg. He's all fucked up. Every part of that movie, I'm like, this is where I quit. Just lay face down in the water and go to sleep. And
Just tell my wife I love her.
The two of these fuckers, man, they just kept going. Oh, it was an unbelievable movie. All right, and what else did I watch? There's a new documentary on HBO called The Lady in the Dale.
Mm-hmm.
About a woman who invented the 3-wheeled car that was a sensation for like a red hot minute in the 70s before it turned out to be a scam. The story goes way deeper than that. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's 3 parts of already up, and it's they do it in this animated style where they take stills and animate the stills to tell the story, so it's not just a series of talking heads.
Oh, that's
very well done. It reminds me of, in terms of like how interesting and curious and well made, of McMillions. Remember the fucking the HBO doc? Really fucking worth watching. So check that out. And what else did I fucking watch? Cherry. I watched that. And then WandaVision. I didn't watch anything like Monday to Thursday because I was fasting. And generally speaking, like when I'm in the fast, I can't, if I sit in front of the TV, that's when I just want to start eating. So I didn't watch anything for 4 days. So it was just Friday and Saturday, or really just all of Thursday night and Friday, or all of Friday. And then it was last No, Thursday, I guess, is when I watched Cherry, Thursday night. So yes, check Cherry. I'm sorry, I'm sitting here rambling about when did I watch fucking Cherry? Man. Audience is like, fuck you, move on. We don't give a shit when you watched it.
Some dude in Oslo is like, the sun is coming up. He's like, fine.
It's like, it is 6 in the morning. Who gives a fuck when you watch Cherry? Wrap it up, fuck.
That's my question.
I've got a fjord to deal with. Like, that's Norway, whatever. Okay. Chris Hernan on chat says, who is Jimmy Woo's missing person? You got a theory on that? Going back to
I don't.
I saw somebody online, I don't know who it was, maybe comicbook.com or some site said that Wonder Man's going to be introduced. I was like, what? Okay. How? Why do you know that? Like, why such a specific guess?
Wonder Man. That's my money. Double down. Fucking daily double. Bet it all. Like, all right, man, if you want.
I guess, man. All right. Oh, I got a little info here from Sid Diego. Says, Kev, when you watch TV, you should try apple slices. That's what I've been doing. Let me tell you, Sid, I'd rather fucking eat my own dick than an apple slice. Thank you for the tip. And also, to be fair, eating my own dick would be pleasurable. But not eating my own dick and consuming it like fucking cannibal style and shit. I'm talking about, you know who. I'm talking about just eating my own dick.
Can you point to the doll and say where the apple slice hurt you?
Fuck them apples.
That was an unproportional response.
Those apples got another thing fucking coming, man. Let's we got JC. We're done with the news.
We're done with the news, my friend.
Give it up for Mark. He gave you the fucking news, kids. There's somebody in Oslo said we got better internet than you. Fucking right there.
Yeah, I mean, you guys invented Bluetooth, I think, so I hope so.
It's not saying a lot, for heaven's sakes. Everyone's got better internet. You know who's got better internet than me? The 90s.
Well, the 90s held on to those AOL discs, so yeah.
I know. I guess. Well, I mean, if you give me a second, I can load to my AOL disc and perhaps get some better internet than the fucking version I'm working right here. All right, JC, we got questions. People in chat, they got questions. They want things they want to know.
Yeah, we do. Tonight's chat was interesting because there's a good chunk of people who I think started watching like 20 minutes to half an hour late. So like about an hour into the show, I got a lot more of like, just tell Kevin to plug his internet in. It'll be fine. Even though we had already spent 10 minutes explaining it. So that's been interesting tonight.
Wait, before you jump, this is something I wanted to talk about before, and somebody just threw it in the chat. Eric Mai, is the aerospace engineer Reed Richards? Remember when Monica's like, I know an aerospace engineer who'd like to take a crack at this. That's what I thought. I'm with this cat. The moment that was referenced, I was like, nobody just says that. Nobody just says something in a Marvel thing.
Yeah, and then it just starts like texting. And then it's like, whoa, something else happened?
Yeah. I think it could be Reed Richards, man. I know it could be they're like mutants. And then in the back door, they're like FF. You know what I'm saying? Like, it feels like they're pushing us toward mutants, but it feels like we're getting a little backdoor FF, which sounds way dirtier than I meant it.
It's Gregging. You just got Gregged.
Jeff's kiss. A kiss straight from the lips of Jeff.
Excuse me while I kiss this guy, Jeff.
Guy named Jeff. All right, JC, what do they want to know? You pick 3 questions. We're going to answer these questions 3.
Yeah, this is a fairly simple question, but I really liked Gaylord of the Rings' name also. Gaylord dropped a question. What are some classic movies that Kevin and Mark love? He points out he loves French Connection, Blues Brothers. What's some good like vintage watches for people?
If you haven't seen All the President's Men in a red hot minute, or you've never seen All the President's Men, go watch All the President's Men and then watch Captain America Winter Soldier right after it. And then watch 3 Days of the Condor. They all feel like similar movies. Certainly one doesn't copy the other, but they all have the elements of, I don't know if I trust this government. Like it's tense spy thriller stuff. And all the
then watch Barefoot in the Park.
Yeah. Then watch that. Then watch Ordinary People. Robert Redford's not in it, but it's really sad. And if you ever wanted to see a mother be cold toward her remaining child who didn't drown, while her husband looks on and all Canadian and shit, Ordinary People is the movie for you.
Done.
It's been a while. Let me see what else. I would say Network is an amazing watch if you're into dialogue. Patty Chayefsky's script, one of the best screenplays of all time. If you like dialogue, like if dialogue, movie dialogue is your porn, A Man for All Seasons from 1969, the Fred Zinman film about Sir Thomas More, is an amazing chatty movie. Naturally Jaws, can't be missed. Mark?
Let's see. I'm trying to write shit down before I forget it. Wages of Fear, I think I've talked about before. It's this great old French movie, and by old I mean 50s. It's not like some 1920s Jimmy Jam, but it's about 4 guys completely down on their luck in some like tiny forgotten fucking like jungle town who get hired to drive 2 semi trucks filled with nitroglycerin across unstable land over to a mine. And it's a movie about desperation. It's a movie about what you can get people to do when they have nothing else to lose. And it's this amazing, it's suspense, it's pure suspense. William Friedkin remade it later as Sorcerer, and The Mandalorian then remade it later as like episode 6 of season 2, when, they've got to get through the jungle on this fucking thing, and on all these things, there's some unstable chemical and bad guys. Like it's all that same thing. That trope had a beginning, and that beginning is Wages of Fear. Double Indemnity is pretty great. Fred McMurray, old film noir, and it's just filled with twists and turns, and it's fucking awesome. I would always recommend watching 48 Hours if you want to see just the beginning of a fucking star. Like that was Eddie Murphy's very first movie, and you'd never know it. And it's Walter Hill, and it's crazy fucking fun. And it's like brutal and uncomfortable and like crazy racist. But also like it's a relic of its time, but still really, really enjoyable. There is a 60s Alfred Hitchcock movie called Rope, which is this
Jeff's fucking kiss.
Jeff's kiss
for fuck out of that.
And Rope is noteworthy for a number of reasons. The first of which is that it was one of the first movies to ever be attempted as one shot. I mean, you can see where they hide the cuts because, the technology then was not nearly sophisticated as it is now. So if you liked, 1916 and were like, I wish they would do this again, Rope is like the first time they really pulled it off.
And like wonderful performances, great dialogue. Jimmy Stewart eventually joins the fun.
Yeah.
It's a really wonderful flick. And the whole time, if you're cognizant of the fact that like, oh my God, they're not cutting. This is all one continuous take. And like Mark says, they hide the cuts, but like it's a feat of filmmaking. Like, launched 1,000 fucking film school ships. A bunch of people being like, I want to fucking be that clever and stuff. It's what made him one of the greats.
Yeah, like the masturbatoriness of the unbroken Steadicam shot, I think, sort of begins there. And I am not the biggest musicals fan in the world. Like I unless you're literally on Broadway, when people can break into song because you're already giving it enough disbelief anyway. So I was never that big a fan of movie musicals. But Singing in the Rain is a phenomenal movie for any number of reasons, not the least of which is just watching Gene Kelly do his thing. And there's a muscularness to the way that he moves and dances. And Debbie Reynolds, again, they would say, oh yeah, she's doing the same thing he's doing backwards in her high heels. And it's absolutely true. And it's a Hollywood movie. And so it's all about sort of making movies and story and the transition from, silent films to talkies and what that must be like for actors who are amazing in one and then for kind of falling away in the other. But there's a reason why it's a classic, and you'll recognize a good half a dozen scenes in it because you've seen them before in any number of clips or montages, but it's worth going back to the source and watching. I will never recommend a ton of movie musicals to anybody because that's not my jam, as I said, but Singing in the Rain is phenomenal.
There's one other, I wouldn't call it a flat out musical, but one other movie musical that I guarantee you would fucking recommend, bro, and that is Streets of Fire.
Another time, another place.
You and me are going nowhere slowly. We got to get away from the past. There's nothing wrong with going nowhere, baby, but we should be going nowhere fast. It's so much better going nowhere fast.
Tonight is what it means to be young.
Oh, fuck. Such poetry. Joe Lamont says, Kevin, talk about Lone Star. What, the John Sayles movie?
Okay.
I love that movie. In fact, it's so weird you ask because I almost watched it like last week with my wife again for the first time in years. But is that the Lone Star you're talking about? It's a fantastic flick. Watch
Seems like a random poll.
His best, man, and fucking like his excellent storytelling, excellent filmmaking, but it tells a multi-generational story over the span of like, you know, multiple decades. Really like one of John Sayles' greatest films, but a true American original and classic that doesn't get enough attention as it should. And then he says, no, Lone Star 80s cartoon. I can't talk about that. I don't have anything to say about that.
Can't help you.
My bad. Rich Williams says, talk about Nashville. Come on, man. Fucking Altman. Like all Altman movies are fucking great. You want to see a great Altman movie? You watch yourself some fucking MASH. You want to see another great Altman movie? You watch yourself some fucking The Player. You want to see another great? We can do this all night.
I will say I have a massive Altman blind spot.
Which ones have The Player?
I think The Player, and I think I saw Shortcuts.
Shortcuts is good too.
But
Miller, he's good. He's got some interesting flicks. He did wonderful things with sound, like just in terms of like, you've seen it in The Player. Here's a shot of like 8 people, and you're here. He mic'd all of them, so he could like zoom past one, and you can hear a piece of the conversation and go into the other and stuff. He was an interesting cat. Also a huge stoner, from what I understand.
I buy it.
Big respect for him. All right, JC, what next?
I was going to just pop in and say I watched, it's more of a recent kind of classic, but I watched Social Network this morning, which to watch it now, knowing what Facebook has become, is really fascinating. And then also one of my favorites, which is on HBO Max, is American Graffiti, which is like very sweet and earnest, which you don't get a lot in a lot of movies now.
The maestro before he became the maestro. Fucking
Indeed.
His clerks, if you will. George making a movie about growing up where he grew up and what it was like then, and then took a quantum leap forward with his next movie, which was about someplace he'd never been in his entire life. Guy's multifaceted, and everyone really gave him shit for a long time just because, you know, fucking trade federations and shit like that.
Also, young Harrison Ford, young Ronnie Howard.
Yeah, young Williams.
Yeah,
you don't get Happy Days, and you don't get Laverne and Shirley without fucking American Graffiti. It's a great movie. Excellent call.
Okay, we have Ariana Tane 72. If you had Kevin Vision or Mark Vision, what era would you be in, and who would be your sitcom co-star? So you guys get the power to alter reality. What do you create? Where do you go?
I mean, I already did it, and my sitcom co-star is Jay Muse. And we've been living it for like 27 years. I've created my own fucking reality. Everything I deal with is only Kevin Vision. I'm so myopic with my head up my own ass. So I can't imagine pretending some world where I'm like, oh, I would do this. You've seen what I would do. You've been watching Kevin Vision for the better part of 27 years. Hopefully you enjoy the show. Subscriptions are down, you know, from the 90s, but fucking no complaints. We can still keep it going. Show's still happening. Mark?
You know, I'm tempted to go to the eras that I grew up in. You know, like I'm tempted to do like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which I've been watching a lot of. I went back to the source and started like, I'm now in season 6 of Fresh Prince. I'm almost done. I'm tempted to try and refurbish the Cosby Show and not call it the Cosby Show and not have Bill Cosby in it, but still have everybody else because it's still a great show. But I think I got to go fucking Sanford and Son. I think I was so fucking just obsessed with the idea of living in a junkyard that yeah.
That's me dancing to the music. I can't, we're not playing it, but I could still hear it. That takes that man taught me how to have a heart attack incorrectly. That's why I didn't think I was having a heart attack 3 years ago, because I'm like, I'm not clutching my chest and going, Elizabeth, clearly nothing's wrong.
You big dummy.
Red Fox fucking almost killed me. That's what that story comes down to. Never believe a comedian, kids. They're not being serious.
They're liars, all of them.
Funny liars. That's all they are.
So yeah, I go Sanford and Son, and what was the last part of that, JC? I need a sidekick.
Yeah, who's your co-star?
Yeah, who's your co-star?
Who's your Vision if you're the Scarlet Witch? If you're Wanda.
Okay. I'm gonna pick it from the Marvel universe simply because like that makes it a little bit more on message and not just like my friend Gary, who I knew when I was in 7th grade.
I mean, well, I did my friend Jay.
True, but he's in your universe already.
It's a good thing you're at fucking WeWork, because if your wife hears that you're gonna pick some fictional character instead of her as your fucking co-star.
It's like, yeah, no, babes, it's Tom Sawyer. It's my co-star on. I got enough of you all day. I gotta go to my fantasy with somebody.
This is just make believe.
Yeah.
All right, who's your co-star?
My co-star, I feel like Michael Pena from Ant-Man. I think he's perfect sitcom co-star material.
May I just interrupt you to say a Jeff's kiss, my friend. What a fantastic choice.
Jeff.
All Jeff. That was fun. JC,
Fun.
I believe that takes us to our third.
Yeah, I just want to call out Rufus Leaking, who said Mark's co-star should be Victor Garbo.
Victor Garber. Oh, God damn it. That would hurt so much. Although it would be cool because then I could ask Mark, like point blank, like, what's he like?
I built a fine ship for you, Rose. I'm sorry.
It'd be really funny if like one week I'm off doing a movie and Mark's like, my co-host this week is Victor Garber.
Yes. For this week's Black Man Beyond, I got the whitest person I could find, Victor Garber.
Guy from Titanic, the guy from Godspell. He was so white, he wore white makeup on his face. All right, who's our third question of the evening, JC?
Anthony S. asks, in Ready Player One, they virtually play the lead of a movie through the eyes of the star. So in the movie, they did The Shining. And in the book, they played Matthew Broderick in War Games. Which movie character would each of you play, and which would you dread to play? So it would have to be a movie, you have to recite the lines of dialogue acting against the people in the movie. So it'd have to be a movie you know really well. Which one would you want?
I don't want to pick one that puts me in danger. Like, I don't want to say like fucking Return of the Jedi because I can get killed. I do know all the words to Strange Brew. And I do know all the words to Raising Arizona.
Both fun.
Fun. And, you know, there's a bit of hijinks and some jeopardy, but not much. Ooh. Ask the question again.
You will virtually play the lead of the movie through the eyes of the star of all the movies. Which movie character do you play?
Bad News Bears, Amanda Wurlitzer. I mean, we can Jeff's be girls, kiss. Right? Jeff's kissing fucking deed. In a world where it's Ready Player One, I can choose to be a girl character, can I? Well, then I fucking choose to live my life through Amanda Wurlitzer. She was the greatest fucking pitcher the North Valley League ever saw, for heaven's sakes, man. And she made a lot of money selling those maps to stars' homes, which means she knew where famous people lived. I like famous people. So fucking Amanda Wurlitzer, that's who I'm choosing to be.
Nice.
If not her, Tanner Boyle.
Fair enough. Who would you like not to be? What would be the worst version of that?
Hitler in Triumph of the Will. I mean,
although he wins in that movie at any rate.
For a minute, but ultimately no. Like, plus, winning at what cost, Mark? What a horrible individual. Bad character. Yeah. What about you?
I think the one I would like to play /live /be in would be Alex Rogan in The Last Starfighter.
I love you, Alex Rogan.
I would like to defend the frontier against Zur and the Kodan Armada.
And Armada? Oh, fucking good choice.
Hell yes. That sounds like fun. You get the girl, you get to do some awesome cool space flying shit. You got a lizard buddy riding a shotgun. None of that sounds bad. As for the character that I would least want to play in a movie, Radio Raheem in Do the Right Thing.
Having seen Do the Right Thing, kids, is one of my top five favorite films of all time. Having seen Do the Right Thing any number of times, I co-sign with Mark on this one. You do not want to be Radio Raheem.
You do not. You get a couple cool moments, which is you get told the love, hate, love is knocking out hate. He's beating them down. Love wins. And you get the cool radio battle with the other guys on the stoop.
And you get to say one of the greatest lines in movie history. D, motherfucker, D.
Yeah, almost anybody else in that movie you have some fun with. Put some full mozzarella on this shit, Sal.
Yeah, you could be bugging out and shit.
Bugging out.
Yo, Sal, we gonna boycott your fat mustache. You gonna boycott me? You gonna boycott me? There's your boycott.
Motherfucker, you fucked up your Jordans. Them shits is broke.
And they reference Black Panther in that movie at one point. They're like, Black Panther eat pizza? Because they're holding a Black Panther comic book. Black Panther eat pizza? We eat pizza, boy. And you said that forever when we were kids. Black Panther eat pizza? We eat pizza, boy. Bugging out. Oh, my
Those
God.
are my picks.
Excellent pick.
I would
Excellent.
say Inigo Montoya in The Princess Bride.
That's who you want to be or
That's
don't
who I
want to
would
be?
want to be because he gets to say, hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
And he never gets killed. Like all that
He
time, he
survives.
fucking makes it till he gets to kill his father's killer. Good choice.
And then he gets to become the Dread Pirate Roberts, which you learn
is cool.
isn't actually that bad of a guy.
No, he's kind of made for the role and shit. All right, so who don't you want to be?
Anybody in a non-English film. I do not do well with foreign language. So, like, you put me in a Godard movie, I'd be screwed.
How
I mean, even if you get to Mac on Anna Karenina like all day long, it's like
I couldn't speak it, though. I'd be speaking English, and they'd be like,
we got a bunch of fuckers in Oslo. It's 6 a.m, and you just broke their hearts. They're like, bye not to us. We speak a language too.
I mean, a Thor movie, maybe. That's kind of Norwegian.
Fuck yeah. There's some subtitles there. What if they put subtitles under you in real life so you could see and you could reach? So if somebody said something, you just look down at their dick level. Whatever they said is written across them.
I'd be slapped a
Bonjour,
lot.
mon ami.
People are like, there's that crazy American dick looker. He's always staring at her dicks. Why is he doing it? I think he's reading our fucking subtitles. Mozartistic #1 said, did Agnes kill the dog? Anyone have thoughts on that?
Oh, yes.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. That'll be the top of the news tomorrow on comicbook.com. Right?
Pretty much. Marc Bernardin thinks that Agnes killed the dog. We didn't see him flip the coin.
Alan Padini says, what the hell, Kevin? Not Batman? Fuck no, I don't want to live my life through Batman's eyes. He saw his parents get killed. That's why he does the things he does. That guy's head. Who wants to be up there? Fuck no. And think about all the horrible things he's seen. Like, we only see the very colorful crimes and shit. Sometimes the Joker just disembowels a fucker. Did you ever see some fucker cut open and shit? Got another fucker stuck inside it? Ew. I don't want to see that. Batman sees that kind of shit all the time. So fuck that. No Batman.
None of Batman's life seems very fun.
Not at all. He ain't having a good time. He ain't Spider-Man. You ask me if I want to see life through Spider-Man's eyes, I say, okay, maybe. I still stick with fucking Bad News Bears and Amanda Wolitzer. But you ask me if I want to see life through fucking Bruce Wayne's eyes, oh, hell no.
Nuh-uh.
Sad and dark. We know it from the song Darkness. No parents having money. Is that it? Is that all the questions we got?
That's what we got.
We thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for giving us those fun questions, some shit to talk about. Don't forget, you are as big a part of the show as me or him, except you Don't get any of the advertising money from nativedeo.com, NATIVEDEO.com, ladies and gentlemen, /Fatman to get 20% off. Stop fucking stanking. There's no good reason in 2021 for you to be stanking the way you do. nativedeo.com. They were the sponsors tonight of this here program that you've been enjoying. Mark, you got something to plug? Where can they get that shirt?
The shirt I'm wearing, I don't remember. I do
No,
like this
the shirt that you make. That's a great shirt. That Dune shirt.
I like that Dune shirt. No, you can get a Be Humble, but Let Motherfuckers Know t-shirt from embattledclothing.com. If you use the code MARK15, save 15% off your first order. There are also other things at that website besides my shirts, and it's pretty sweet. So, and hey, you know what? It's Black History Month, and if you want to support a Black-owned business, that is one of them. So by all means, go ahead, show some love.
Fucking A, man. And me, if you want to, fucking help out a white-owned business, you let me know where to go with that one.
Like, listen, you got 11 more months.
Wait until March and then join that Kevin Smith club, but not this month.
No.
Thank you all for hanging out with us, ladies and gentlemen. This is always a blast and stuff like that. Come back. We're going to do it Saturday.
We'll do it Saturday. I think we might do it in person again.
Right. We may be at the Scum and Villainy Cantina. I mean, we'll still be on your computers, but we're going to be together.
Indeed.
Same room with the spit guard in front of us and shit.
Yeah, no Jeff's kisses between us.
None whatsoever. Jeff's kisses. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you for tuning in. We thank JC for making this all happen. But there ain't no show without the guy over there. I never know how to do it. There it is. Give it up for Mr. Marc Bernardin.
Thank you, boys and girls. So much fun.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Fat Man Beyond for this week. We went fucking beyond.
It's Oslo and back.
Yeah. I mean, all the way, wherever that is. We went there. For Fat Man Beyond, I am Kevin Smith.
And I am Marc Bernardin.
Tune in next week, Saturday. Same fat time. Probably not the same exact fat time, probably earlier. Same fat channel. Smodcast.com or
YouTube.com/Kevin Smith.
Jeff's Kiss.
Live long and prosper.